Hey guys, welcome back. Part number 6 of the Journey Restore. Today we are going to sand down the cabinet. I want to fill in a few of these pits in wood before we start sanding. I'm going to get this sanded down today and painted. We're going to paint the blue and the black. It'll be completely painted today so that tomorrow I can take it down into the basement. I did move another project into the shop last night, which is the sad looking tapper cabinet. It's pretty rough, as you can see. The speaker area is completely busted up. Luckily I have the pieces, so I can kind of piece this together for a template and be able to cut a new speaker area. So we'll make a new speaker area. I'm gonna replace this top piece. If you look at the top, it's pretty warped. Also on the back. Gonna put a new top up here. It's pretty chewed up and beat up and warped. I was looking at this last night when I moved it in. Probably gonna have to put a new front lower panel on where the coin door goes. It is kind of swollen here. It's pretty thick. I think it's probably just best to replace this front panel here. We could take this one off and use it as a template. I'll be able to put all the holes for the coin door and for the bar for your feet and everything back in the right location. Sides aren't too bad. Definitely a little chewed up on the bottom. We're gonna have another corner or two to fix like we did on the Journey cabinet. This one's worse than the Journey cabinet. But as you can see here, this needs a corner replacement. I'm not sure if I'm gonna just cut that out and replace it with a piece of wood or not. This cabinet does get a full vinyl wrap, so I will be painting it black. And then after it's painted black, it'll get the vinyl wrap over top of it. Once again, this is another cabinet that has these protective metal corners on it, just like the Journey did. This one has it on all 4 sides. Well, 3 sides, one side ripped off. Somebody made a back door. We're gonna remake the back door the correct way like we did with the Journey. But on this one, it has the vent holes on the top and on the bottom. So we'll have to do that. On the inside here, it's a mess. It's all fixable. If you guys remember on the Journey, I made new cleats here that the door holds up against. After looking at these, this is the same plywood material that was on the Journey. So the Journey ones probably were the original ones. They were just too beat up to save. These aren't in too bad a shape. I think I could just glue that back together and it should be good to go. I don't want to replace these if I don't have to. It does have the original tapper serial number tag inside. We'll take that off just like we did on the Journey. I'm probably going to replace this panel too with a piece of plywood. This is the panel where the monitor sits on, just because once again this has got a little bit of a warp to it. Cabinet has definitely been abused its life, but we will fix it and make it back to normal. Somebody had screwed on a piece of wood to hold the back door rather than making that rabbet in the back door like we did on the Journey. So we'll make the back door just like it supposed to be. Once again, you could tell it had a lock bar on it at one point. I do have a coin door for it. The cabinet did not come with a coin door. I do have an original one that I've already restored. But I'll show you how I restore these coin doors when I do the Journey one. So let me get set up here and we're gonna get the Journey cabinet sanded down and get that painted today. And then later on today after that, I plan on making a video of painting that door, sanding the trunk lid and painting that, and a couple of these rear valances that are in the trunk of the car. These just need simply sanded down and repainted. They don't need primered or anything like that. So let me get set up here and we are going to do some little bit of quick spot repair on this Journey cabinet with a little bit of that glazing putty, and I'm just gonna fill in the divots, just enough to fill them in. I wanna do it before I sand the cabinet, just so that I don't have to worry about dust in the divots. Some people will say, well, if you put that glazing putty on there without sanding the cabinet, it's not gonna stick. That's true. It's not gonna stick to the surface, but it's gonna stick into the divots in the wood. And that's all I need it to do, is just fill in those divots. They might sand out, but I don't want to take that risk, so I'm just going to put a little glazing putty, so I'll be right back. All right, I'm back. I'm just going to fill in little tiny divots like this. You can see they're not real big at all. Just going to put enough on to fill it in. There's maybe a handful, a dozen of spots like this or so on the cabinet. So I just want to kind of put it on there, squeegee most of it right back off. Whatever's left on the surface will just sand right off. I just don't want to see these after I paint it, or sand it and then have to sand more because I didn't fill them in first. This side looks pretty good. There's not too many. I believe there's a few more on the other side. All right, looks like we're good on this side. I know that there's some right on this edge, which I showed you guys the other day. Right on this edge here. Put some on there. These are those pits in there I showed you in the last video when I primered it. We're just gonna smooth over them, pull it real tight. Just want to fill in the pits. Even if you sand this cabinet and you fill these pits in, inside the pits it's still not sanded. So it doesn't really matter if you do it before or after you sand. This will only take a few minutes to dry, and then we can start sanding the cabinet down. I'm going to sand it down real quick with some 180, just to knock down the texture from the primer. And then I'm going to sand it with 320, use a Scotch-Brite pad, which I'll show you. And then we can get it untaped, and we're going to retape it. I think we're looking pretty good here. I think I got all the spots. Might be one or two inside of here. Probably doing spots you'll never see. Control panel will cover it. My screen bezel, marquee, and CPO should be here today for the tapper cabinet. Side art and front art, we are going to print that ourselves. We do have a vinyl printer that we do some of our own work with. If we can get the vinyl printer working again. Can't seem to get it back online, I don't know why. A little crack here, just want to fill that in. I know the back of the cabinet, nobody's ever going to see it. But we're looking real good here. It should be a real nice paint job on this cabinet. All right, I'm gonna let this dry for a couple minutes. I'll be back to start sanding it. Okay guys, I'm back. I'm gonna go ahead and start sanding this down with 180. I'm gonna use a different kind of sander today. This is just a air block sander, smaller one. This will work good. This is 180 grit. So let's go ahead and start knocking this side down. Forgot to turn the air on again. I'm good for that. All right, I'm back. Air's turned on. Let's go ahead and get this sanded down. All right, that's the 180 grit. Now we're going to use the other sander with some 320 grit and go over it. You guys can do all the sanding by hand. It doesn't make a difference, it just takes a little bit longer. But I'll show you here. This is what it looks like when it's sanded down with 180. Pretty nice smooth surface. Kind of hard to catch this on camera. Very bottom there, it went through a little bit to the old blue paint, not a big deal. There was a little bit of a divot there. So I figured I'd sand it out. So I'm gonna hit this with some 320 real quick. That was a 320 grit. I'm not going to do 600 on here like if it were a car paint job. It just doesn't need it. But that's how it looks after 320. Nice and smooth. I'm going to now just take this red Scotch-Brite pad and just go over it. Kind of hit these edges right here just to get off any little burrs or anything like that from when it was primered. All right, this side is ready. I'm going to go ahead and do the front, the other side, and the top and everything off camera. No point in me wasting a bunch of time showing you guys me sanding the same thing on every panel. So I'm going to go ahead and repeat the process on the rest of the panels, and then I will come back and we will get this untaped and vacuum it out and get it ready to put in the spray booth to paint. Okay, it's all 180 and 320 sanded down. Now what I'm going to do is kind of just take this sanding block. This is some more 320 grit sandpaper. The sander obviously won't get into these corners, so you're just going to hand sand them. Anywhere on the cabinet where that sander couldn't get it, you're going to hand sand it. All right, I'm going to go around and do that to all the areas that the sander couldn't get to. All right, cabinet is all sanded down with 180, 320, and then I red Scotch-Brite padded it all down. Now I want to blow it off, untape it, and we'll get it into the booth. I'm gonna open the door. Early in the morning. Crappy weather today. We got some rain, freezing rain, a little cold. Spray out your T-molding. That's where a lot of dust flakes is sitting in this groove. All right, let's get it untaped. We'll vacuum out the inside, and then we got to retape it. It does kind of suck to have to tape everything twice, but if you don't, between coats, you know, between primer, sanding, and painting, you'll have dust just stuck all over this stuff, and it'll end up in your paint. For the few dollars it costs to take it apart and re-taper it, and a little bit of time that it takes is well worth it. You can use newspaper, it's not a problem at all. You know, when you're painting stuff, one of the main things to consider is airflow. Even if you're using latex paint, or not latex paint, enamel paint and a roller, set up a fan. Open a window, you know, try to get some good heat going and get air movement. The more air movement you have, the quicker it'll cure. When you get ready to sand and paint a cabinet, figure it's gonna take you probably at least half a day. You know, don't go rushing it, there's no point. This will probably take me 3-4 hours. By the time I put the sealer on it, the blue on it, let it sit for an hour or so, you know, tape it off, put the black on it, let it sit for half an hour, and then clear it. It's probably gonna take 4 hours to do all that. So, you know, just take your time. If you're using the enamel paint, you guys can do, you know, you'll have to do a coat, wait a day or two, you know, do another coat. If you're sanding between coats, you know, that all depends. Just about all untaped here. Another area to make sure that you untape and retape is the hole for the on-off switch. Because if you don't take that piece of tape out of there, there's going to be a ton of dust in there from sanding the top of the cabinet. Just pop it out. Look at that. Look at all that dust and dirt and stuff. So just get that out of the way. I'm going to set you up here. We're going to get the inside of that cabinet vacuumed out. You know what I might do real quick? I'm going to run the DA sander in the bottom of that cabinet just to try to clean out some of that dirt. So let me grab that real quick, put my mask on, and sand that down. It's going to take a second. Might as well get some of this dirt knocked off of here before I vacuum grab the vacuum. I think when I paint the black on the cabinet, I'm going to tape off the bottom and this board and that inside of that front board. Maybe just mist a little black paint back in here, just to clean it up a little bit. Luckily, this cabinet doesn't have any mold or anything in it. I have had cabinets with mold in it. One of the ones I did, an original Mr. Do cabinet, had mold in it. I ended up replacing the sides on the cabinet, but I sprayed the cabinet down in the summertime outside with some bleach and just let it dry for a little while. All right, get this vacuumed out. Once I vacuum this out, I'm going to blow it off again, the whole cabinet. We'll open the door up and blow it out one more time. A little bit of nasty stuff in the front of that cabinet where the coin bucket goes. Looks like maybe somebody spilled some pop or something in the game a long time ago. Just gonna hit it with some sandpaper by hand. All right, that's cleaned up in there. Looks a lot better than it did. Let me go ahead and clean up around here for a few minutes and we'll open the door up and get it blown off. All right, let's blow this off one more time. We're gonna blow off the inside and the outside. I usually like to start with the inside and then blow the outside of the cabinet off. Find a little spot of Bondo. it's all blown off. I'm gonna go sweep out the spray booth and then we'll get it in there. All right, let's get this cabinet back into the spray booth. If you guys are wondering why there's stands in here with paper on them, in the spray booth I have all brand new stands, and I try to keep them clean by taping them off with paper. Then in the future, as they get older, you won't have a bunch of paint buildup or dust or anything like that on them. You know, that just to try to keep the dust down in the spray booth. You still get some dust and dirt in your paint. It's never perfect. The good thing about this Journey cabinet is it gets a satin clear. By putting a satin clear on it, it pretty much hides everything. This is a non-metallic navy blue color. This should be really, really close, if not perfect, to the original color that was on the cabinet. I know some people have painted these Journey cabinets a lighter blue, you know, more vibrant blue, and I don't think that's what the color was supposed to be. So let me get set up here. We're gonna get this taped off and we'll start getting ready to paint. All right, I'm back. On the last video, I showed you guys how I papered off the cabinet, but for some reason, I forgot to add in a clip of me putting the tape on. So I'll show you how I tape these cabinets off before I put the paper on. Now, I'm gonna have to take this back piece off when I go to paint the black so that I can get in here and everything. So on this coat, I'm not gonna hit the back with any paint. Well, whatever overspray gets on there from the top and stuff. But I'm just gonna tape this ledge in here for this coat, and we'll have to retape it for the next one. There's a lot of taping involved if you want to have a nice job. There's no way around it. Like I said, don't be afraid to just use an extra roll of tape and just make it look good. I want to tape this off really good. I don't want to have blue paint inside my cabinet. So just take your time, get it taped off nice. As you can see here, what I'm doing is, you see this edge is sticky. This edge is sticky, so I'll be able to kind of put the paper in there and stick it to the tape that's already on there. Once again, I want to tape off my wheels. I do have new wheels, but these are good. I don't want to waste the new ones on this. There's no reason to. These are original, they work. They're not all nicked up. I don't know if I'm going to mess with the adjusters either. They're in pretty decent shape as well. I usually put some plastic sliders underneath them in the basement. They're just foam on one side and then there's a plastic slider on the other so that I can slide it around on the carpet down there. This weekend, I'm probably going to make a video of my arcade in the basement so you guys can see it, see what games I have, what games I've restored. Like I said, I've been doing this for about 9 years now. So I've gone through quite a bit of games. Maybe you guys would like to see what I've done. All right, I'm gonna stop the video and get this taped off and I'll be back. Okay, we're all taped off. I'm heating it up now. The good thing is if you guys use a roller, you don't have to worry about taping off the cabinet because you don't have overspray. So we're gonna get it warmed up in here at about 80, 90 degrees. It's currently just under 60 degrees. Let's go in the mixing room here. We're going to mix up our epoxy primer. The epoxy primer I use can be used as a sealer as well. This is the primer I use. It's just an Omni. It's made by PPG, MP170. I'll put it in the mixer here. It is a 2-to-1 mix. 2 parts epoxy primer. I'm sorry, yeah, 2 parts epoxy primer, 1 part epoxy partner catalyst. And then when using it as a sealer, 1 part of medium urethane reducer. Let's get set up here with our cup. Only need 1 right now. These sleeves are real thin, kind of hard to separate. Remember last time I had ripped that off? We're leaving that on. That's our strainer. Mixing cup. We're gonna let that mix for about 10 minutes and I'll be right back. Okay, while the epoxy primer is mixing, let's get this blown off and get it degreased with the wax and grease remover like I did last time. 80 degrees now, so we're at a good spraying temperature. getting ready to mix up the sealer. As you can see, I put on my disposable spray suit. I use these a few times before I throw them away, and I remember to put gloves on this time. Don't forget to put your liner in your cup if you're using these style cups. This is a 2-to-1 mix. I think we'll make it probably about 10 ounces. Because with 10 ounces of, let's go 12. 12 ounces of epoxy primer, 2-to-1 mix. We're going to use 6 ounces of hardener. So we'll bring this 12 up to 18. There, and then we are going to take it up to just under 24 with reducer. It's a 2-to-1. I like to make it a little bit less on the reducer, but this is what makes it a sealer. This is what fills in your sanding scratches if you have any minor sanding scratches before you paint, especially on a metallic color. This is a solid color. We don't really have to worry about that. So we're going to get this mixed up, get it in the spray gun. Away real quick so it's out of my way. Alright, stir this up. We're not going to use a paper strainer this time. This is our tack rag. We're going to reuse it from the previous paint job. It's still good. We're not going to use a paper strainer this time because the lid has it in it. You can see by mixing this 2-to-1, it's nice thin consistency. Make sure you stir it really good. I probably made up a little bit too much. We'll see. I'm gonna put it on a hair heavier than I normally do, just to fill in any little things that I might have missed. It looks pretty good. I think we'll be just fine. After the sealer goes on, it's got to dry for about 15 minutes. Oh, don't forget to turn on the air dryer. It's going to dry for about 15 minutes. Once it's dry, I will tack cloth it off again, and we'll be ready to put the blue paint on. Once we put on the blue paint, we'll have to let that sit for about an hour, and then we can take the sides and front and top off and paint the black. The black doesn't have to sit as long as the blue. Black's just got to sit for about a half an hour, just so that you can touch it. The reason why you want to let the blue set for a good hour is you're going to put masking tape on that blue paint. So you don't want to leave masking marks in the paint. On this situation, it doesn't really matter. You won't see it because it is a non-metallic color and it's getting a satin clear over top. So it's really not an issue with this stuff. Put our lid on. For the sealer and the base coat, I like to use the same spray gun. We're using an old one, a Sodajet 2000. I like this gun. I've had this gun for probably 20 years or so. Click it into place. Let's go out there. We'll tack cloth off the cabinet and get the sealer on. All right, let's tack cloth it off. I like to open up my tack cloth. Punch it up. We're still getting more dust off the cabinet even after wiping it down. let this sit for 15 minutes and it'll be ready for another tack cloth and start putting the blue on. The blue, we will only put it on the areas that the blue is going. Whatever overspray gets on the other areas will get cleaned up and fixed up when I put the black on. I'm going to go ahead and stop this for a couple minutes, get the spray gun cleaned out, and get ready for the blue paint. All right, I'm back. Let's get the blue paint mixed up. I bought a little egg timer a while ago, and I just set it for however many minutes I need to when I know how long something needs to dry. We got about 5 minutes left until that sealer is ready. So let's go ahead and get the base coat mixed up. This I'm not going to put in my paint shaker. I'm missing the adapter for quart-sized cans. I don't know what I did with it. I do reuse these mixing sticks a few times, so I'll use the other side of it for the color. And then what I'll do is this will be a filler primer mixing stick next. And then after that, to the garbage. So I get 3 uses out of these things. This is a 1-to-1 mix, 1 part paint, 1 part reducer. Probably going to take 2 to 3 coats to cover. It'll probably cover in 2. We'll see how it looks after 2, if we need to put a 3rd one on or not. I'm not going to skimp on it. If we got to do it, we got to do it. Let's go ahead and mix. Let's go 14 ounces of color, 14 ounces of reducer. You know what else I like to do? I take this little pick and I poke holes in the top of my can in this inner rim. And what that does is, once you're done pouring, whatever's left in this rim drips back into the can. Some people say it makes the paint dry out quicker. I have never had automotive paint dry out. As long as you're not keeping it in freezing weather, you'll be just fine. Wipe that off. Stir this up. 14. Right there. Wipe off the edge of this can. Now we're going to go up to 28, which it stops at 26. So we're just going to estimate the next line. This is just a urethane medium reducer. Depending on what you're painting, temperature-wise, and how you want it to lay out is going to depend on what type of hardeners and reducers you use. If you're trying to get something to lay out a little flatter on a car paint job, use a slower reducer. It takes longer to dry between coats, but it gives it more time to flow out and flatten out. If you use a medium or a fast reducer, especially when it's hot outside, it's like as soon as that paint hits that panel, it just wants to dry. So you got to kind of watch what hardeners and reducers you're using, depending on your situation, your temperatures, and all that. So I'm going to go ahead and pause this, get this into the gun, and we'll get out there, tack it off, and put the first coat of color on. All right, it's been 15 minutes. I'm going to go ahead and tack cloth off the cabinet again. I'm going to start with the top and work my way down. right, I'm gonna mix up more paint for the third coat. If you notice on that first coat, it was kind of patchy how it sprayed. That's because my spray gun wasn't set up right. I just went ahead and finished that first coat. I wasn't too worried about it because it's a non-metallic color. But on the second coat, I opened the fan up bigger so that so the paint sprayed, you know, a wider pattern. I lowered the temperature down a little bit, or not the temperature, the air pressure down a little bit. And then as you can see when I was spraying, I also slowed down my spraying motion. The reason why when I got to the bottom of the cabin, I went back up with another quick coat is I'm just trying to fill in where it was light and dark from spraying the first coat. So now we're going to mix up a little bit more for one more coat. We should only need about another 8 ounces. So it looks like we're going to end up using about a pint of paint out of that quart. Maybe a hair over. It's always good to have extra in case something happens. That gallon that quart of paint cost me, I think, around $100 or so, $110. You know, obviously if you're doing a cheaper cabinet, multi-cake or something like that, you're probably not going to want to invest this kind of money in materials. Like I said, there are a lot cheaper routes. You can use Summit brand paints. They work really well, you know, as far as base coats and stuff like that. But on a game like this, you got to have the right color. You got to use good materials. You know, just what type of game it is. All right, I'm going to get the gun loaded up, and we're going to go out there and do the third coat, and then it'll sit for an hour, and then we'll be back to take the blue off and put the black on. All right, guys, it's been about 45 minutes so far. Dry to the touch. I'm going to let it set for about another 15 minutes before we get it taped off. But in the meantime, I'm going to set the tripod up, and let's unmask most of this and remask the inside first. Let me grab the tripod. I'll be right back. All right, I'm going to untape the back. I want to be able to spray all these edges really good. So let's get this tape out of here. Tape out. If you remember on the first video, I talked about just leaving those plastic pegs in there that hold the monitor bracket and stuff. I just had taped them off just so I don't get a bunch of overspray on it. So now what I want to do is this bottom board here and the bottom down here. I'm just going to put some paper down there so I don't get a bunch of black overspray on it, because I'm going to leave the back of this cabinet open when I'm painting just to kind of blow some black into here, make it look a little bit better and cleaner. I did vacuum and wipe it down and everything. Where the coin door is, we will leave that paper on the inside because I don't want to, I'm going to cover this up with paper, the blue. I don't want any black to come from the back side and get onto the blue. So we'll leave that there. Take this piece off. So basically now I'm going to just tape off those areas. I think we're going to do up here too. I think I want to get a little black painting up here. This is probably going to be a pretty long video. It's probably going to be a pretty long video. There's really not much I can do. It's just a lot of information and a lot of work. So let me go ahead and tape off the inside and I'll be back. All right, it's been about an hour. I just kind of draped some paper inside of there on the bottom and on that board where the PCB mounts, just to try to keep it a little cleaner looking inside. All right, let me get this set up and we will start taping off the side. All right, I'm just gonna use 3/4 inch tape. Start taping off the sides here. On the back edge, we want to go right on the corner because this whole back piece gets painted black. So just take your time. On the back. Same thing on the, well, on the top, we're gonna overhang it. Halfway, we're gonna overhang it to the groove in the T-molding. I'll show you on the front here. We're gonna go halfway. Remember the other day I had talked about putting blue paint on this edge here so that when the T-molding goes on, there's blue behind it in case you were to see behind it anywhere. I'm taping it in the middle so that when I put the black on, the other side will have black where the T-molding meets up. So we're just gonna go around this, right, all the way around, down to the bottom. Fold it over, tear it. If you have to tear it, you can tear it a little bit. Fold that edge over. This side's ready to be papered. Put a piece along the bottom here. This can just go to the edge. On the front, we need to go nice and straight down this right here. This little lip on the side here has to be painted black. Same thing with the top here. This piece right here, this angled out piece, that's supposed to be black. I had taped off the holes for the coin door and for the coin bucket on the back side so that no black paint comes through onto the blue surface. If your tape ends up a little long like that, just carefully take your knife and cut it back, which I'll do in a minute here. Come down this edge. I have to do the same thing on the top of the cabinet because it's got this little lip on the top of the cabinet as well. So I'll do the same taping method up there. I'm going ahead and stop the video right here. I'm gonna get this done. I'll come back and show you how it looks all taped off. All right, we're ready, all taped off and ready to put the black on the cabinet. Now when you tape off the cabinet, just make sure you do a really good job. Make sure all your edges are pushed down so that when you go to paint, none of it blows up and you get black paint on your blue paint. So as you can see, we're all taped off really good. Now, I'm going to tack cloth off a little bit. It's also a good idea to tack cloth your paper as well, because sometimes the paper can have some dust get the black painted. cabinet and we'll be ready to start clearing it. All right, let's get it on tape. Okay, we're gonna get the satin clear mixed up, then I'm gonna go out there and tack cloth off the cabinet one more time. I'm gonna tack cloth all the surfaces just to make sure there's no dust and dirt on them. And then right now we're gonna mix up this clear. I use this hot rod satin clear from Summit. Works really well. You gotta stir it for a long time. If this stuff sits for a while, it all kind of like migrates to the bottom of the can. So you got to really stir it. I stirred this for about 15 minutes. We're going to mix it up. It is a 4-to-1 mix, and I put a little bit of reducer in it just to thin it down a little bit so it sprays a little bit smoother. We're going to do 2 coats. That's all we need. I'm not going to put any on the inside of the cabinet. It's just going to stay the regular base coat that I sprayed in there. So we're going to go up to 16 ounces. Up to 20 with the hardener. I'm going to use a fast hardener. The reason why I'm going to use a fast hardener is I'm not going to bake this cabinet and I just want it to dry quick. So we're going to take this up to 20. There. And then we're going to throw 2 ounces of reducer in here. Like I said, we're going to do 2 coats, and it'll be done. Mix it up real good. And go ahead and get you guys out there so I can show you how it sprays. Okay, the cabinet is all tacked cloth. is it. This cabinet is painted and ready to go back together. This will end this video. It's going to be, like I said, this is a real long video. Thanks again for watching. If you guys could please subscribe and like